Feeling drained and stretched thin? Your health might be the key to unlocking your next promotion or burst of confidence. In today's episode, Esther Avant, a health and personal development coach who shares why small habits can lead to big results in your career. If you're ready to ditch the guilt and prioritize you so you can lead, grow, and thrive, stick around. Welcome to the Shannon Fox Show, the podcast where we empower career moms to thrive. I'm your host, Shannon Fox, a career advancement coach dedicated to helping moms like you leverage your strengths to land your dream job, secure that well-deserved raise, or finally get that promotion, all without sacrificing time with your family. Each week, I'll bring you actionable strategies, inspiring stories, and strength-based tools to help you align your career with your natural gifts and step into your full potential. So, if you're ready to stop feeling stuck and start building the career and life you deserve, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello and welcome. I am joined today with Esther Avant. Esther is a health and personal development coach who helps women apply simple, strategic habits to improve both their well-being and career success. She's the co-owner of Made by Me Coaching, the host of the Live Diet Free podcast, and the author of To Your Health, a lifestyle of health, happiness, and confidence. With 20 years in fitness, nutrition, and wellness, she now teaches women how prioritizing their health can unlock greater energy, focus, and leadership in their careers. Esther is also a boy mom and Navy wife who has lived and traveled all over the world while writing, speaking, and coaching. Esther, can I just start by saying thank you to you and your family for your service to our country? And thank you for joining us today.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's so interesting hearing people read your own bio. I'm like, did you write that? Did I write that? Did AI write that? That sounds good.
I love it. So, as a career mom yourself, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about balancing health, career, and family?
Such a good question. So I think the first, and I know I won't be the first person to say this, but it's that, you know, the idea of balance is really kind of a misnomer, that it's never going to be that we give equal time and energy to all of the demands in our life on any
Right.
given day. But the way I like to think about it is you have sort of a few kind of major buckets in your life that are all sort of jockeying for the lion's share of your time and resources. And what ends up happening is family life and work end up being the main two, and it feels like everything else is kind of a distant third. So the way I like to look at it is, how do we get our personal goals and specifically our health into the mix? That it's not you need to quit your job or give away your children in order to be a healthy person, but more so, how does this stop being the thing that always ends up on the back burner? Of course, there are times when you've got a newborn, your family is getting most of you. You are under a deadline at work, your job is getting most of you. But we need to be recalibrating often enough that nothing ends up on the back burner for so long that it becomes a detriment to us. And that's what I see with health, is it's just an afterthought. We would like to, feel better and be more active and eat better. It just feels like there's not enough hours in the day.
Right.
So figuring out, how do I solve for those things? What are the actual obstacles and how do I solve for them so that I can make my health more of a priority and know that when I do, my family benefits, my career is going to benefit. So it's not selfish. It's not taking away from these other aspects of our lives. It's actually going to benefit them. And that's just kind of a mental shift that we need to make.
Yeah, I know a lot of moms feel guilty about prioritizing their health when they have other things to do. But you're saying, and I agree with you, that it actually is not selfish. It actually we need to drop that guilt, right?
I actually interviewed a guest for my podcast yesterday who talks about caregiving in the sandwich generation. So you're taking care of both your kids and your parents. And she used the phrase, just learn to dance with the guilt, which I think is so interesting, of not trying to eliminate it because it's unrealistic, just acknowledging that it's there and that you can do things, despite it.
Yes. I love that, dance with it. because it's not going to ever, I mean, it just doesn't go away, you know? So,
Right, right. But you just kind of like learn how to maneuver with one another.
right. So what health habits how do our health habits affect or impact our productivity, energy, leadership? How, especially at work, like we're talking with a bunch of career women here, and so how do these healthy habits, how can they help them with their
Yeah.
even with their work?
Yeah, great question. There's so much fascinating research about how people who live a healthy lifestyle, eat well, exercise, don't drink, don't smoke, that sort of thing, are more productive, get promoted faster, make more money, are more resilient and better able to withstand high levels of stress without getting burnt out. They're more creative. So there's all of that. And it's not from doing like dozens of different time consuming things. It's more so people who exercise, 3 times a week consistently. The bar is much lower than we set for ourselves. So I think that's an important piece of it. But one of the biggest benefits that I've seen personally and that I see with clients that I think is not talked about enough is just the confidence that you build by setting personal goals and following through on them, even when it feels hard, is the skills that you practice when you are pushing through a tough workout or when you decide to follow through and do your meal prepping, even though you'd rather be sitting on the couch. When you practice that with your personal goals and with your health, you're fostering those skills that then transfer over into work. And instead of feeling like you're facing a challenge at work that you're just like, this is insurmountable, I don't know what to do, I'm screwed, you're more likely to be a problem solver there and say, okay, well, when's another time that I faced a challenge that felt hard, but I got through it? I'm somebody who's capable of that. That means I can apply it here. It means when you enter a boardroom or when you go in for an evaluation or a promotion, you feel good about yourself. You walk in with good posture, with this just confident air about you, where you say, I am a hardworking, disciplined person who has a good reputation with herself. And I know that that spills over into my reputation with other people, my work ethic, and I know that that gets noticed by the people around me.
I love that. I love that. I totally agree with that. I think that that's important. That confidence that we gain. It's like I've told my clients, like if you put an appointment on a calendar or in, like health, you're working out and you make that promise to yourself, you're going to gain that confidence just by keeping that promise to yourself. And so it goes right along with that of just I think that the confidence part, and like you said, it does go into stress at work, building onto that project and giving you that confidence later on at work. So I really do love that. Um, so what are some of the common mindset blocks you think that hold women back from taking care of themselves and putting their health in the forefront of their mind?
Yeah, I've got three that I've seen recurringly across my career. The first is that we try to do way too much at once. We have this kind of vision of what a healthy person does, and it involves celery juice and 5 a.m. workouts and just all of this stuff that is miserable and like unrealistic.
Right.
So I think mental shift number one is I don't actually need to be doing everything. I need to hone in on what's going to give me the most bang for my buck. And then how do I make doing those things easy to do consistently? And when you stop spreading yourself so thin and you start focusing on just a few things, you've got a lot more resources to devote to making that feel easy. And you get it to the point where it just feels like I'm doing these things because it's what I do, not because I'm trying to force myself to do it. So that's the first piece. The second, I think, is that we have this kind of individualistic attitude that I should be able to do it on my own. And I think especially working moms, because we do so much stuff and we do shoulder so much of the mental load and we're like physically doing all the things, it's uncomfortable and it feels unfamiliar to ask for help. But it's really a sign of strength and confidence that you recognize, am I capable of doing this all alone? Yes, but I don't need to. And
Right.
if I choose not to, it'll be faster and easier and more pleasant to have guidance, accountability, support, community, and to feel comfortable seeking those things out. I think is the second thing is just not being kind of that martyr of like, oh, it's all on me. Like
Right.
you're choosing that.
Right.
And then the third mental shift that I think is really important is learning how to stop being our own toughest critics and learn to balance the self-compassion that we need when we're imperfect human beings, which we will always be,
Right.
and forgiving, the slip ups and the mistakes and just kind of acknowledging that's part of it. There's nothing wrong with me. I haven't messed anything up. This is just part of the process and giving yourself compassion then. And also taking responsibility to make the changes necessary to get a different outcome. So yes, be nice to yourself when you hit snooze instead of waking up, and then say, well, if I don't want to keep doing this, how am I going to change so it doesn't keep repeating itself? And taking responsibility for I'm the only one who can actually do that, and here's what it's going to look like. And I think when you balance those two things, you get out of that kind of black and white, all or nothing thinking, and you just start to see progress comes in many forms, and I'm either progressing or I'm learning, and then can use that to progress.
Right. I love that. I love that. And I think I would like to hear your thoughts because I feel like we've talked a lot about like when we say health, a lot of people automatically think I have to go to the workout and at the gym, but your health also includes getting a good night's sleep. It includes what's going in your body, and how can you give advice to the women listening that, about all of that? They're all encompassing health, little things that they can do and put into action maybe today as they listen to this.
Yeah, that's a great question, and completely agree. We do tend to have a very narrow definition of what a healthy person does or who they are, and it's much broader than that. You've got your biological health, your physical health. You've also got your mental health, which, is being talked about more, but is a big piece of it that running yourself into the ground with these really grueling workouts is not probably good for your physical health either, but it's also not helping you mentally. And then you've got your social health and your relationships and things like that, and it all matters. So this is where kind of narrowing down what you focus on becomes really important. I call them the big rock habits, is how do you pinpoint for you what's going to be the most important? And generally speaking, there's, a few that for most people, nutrition wise, are going to make a difference, a few for exercise. So are you getting in daily movement? Are you just standing up and like walking around? Are you strength training? Are you prioritizing protein and fiber in your diet? Are you sleeping? And just kind of looking at like the kind of those big rocks and saying, which ones am I already doing well? Because most people are not, starting at square one, although you might feel like it. Odds are, if you've got young kids that you're taking to the playground, you're probably getting a good number of steps in. If you are, really like eating fruits and veggies, you're probably getting a good amount of fiber in. So acknowledge what you're already doing well and just kind of let that continue. You don't need to devote anything to it. Just like let that be good enough. And then you can devote more to the areas that you're like, yeah, that's a pretty big opportunity for me. For many people, it is sleep. And that one, I think, although like we all know it, we all hear about it, we just don't do the things. And it can be such a good step one because it has such a cascade effect that if you are having a hard time exercising and eating well, if you're sleeping more and better, then it's going to be easier to wake up to your alarm. You're going to have more energy to do your workouts, which means you're going to push harder. You're going to get more out of them. Your cravings are going to be reduced because you're not having these hunger and fullness hormones that are out of whack. So it'll be easier to resist temptation. You will feel like you've already done something good for yourself. So you're more likely to make better choices. Like just by that one change, by prioritizing your sleep, it's going to benefit so many other things. So I'd say probably for most working moms, that's a great place to start, even though it doesn't seem direct. It seems, it is kind of this
Right.
indirect thing that, is sleeping better going to make me lose weight like this? No, but it's going to kind of set the stage to make it easier that you can and that you can maintain the results that you do get. So I'd start there. And then, like I said, I'd look at steps, I'd look at protein, I'd look at fiber as just some, like, where can I get an easy win that makes me feel good, get some momentum going, and then makes me feel capable of then taking another step from there.
Yeah, I love that. I was actually talked to my chiropractor the other day, and he told me that sleeping that it's better to sleep more hours before midnight than it is after midnight. And so he said, if you need to get up early, that's fine, but go to bed early and get as many hours before midnight asleep. And I went, oh, see, I would rather stay up. And then, like I am guilty of that one, compromising, but I can tell a difference. Like the weeks that I stay up late and don't get much sleep, I feel I can look back and see how less productive I am in all areas of my life. Like I'm just sluggish. And so then it's okay, now you need to go back and go back to bed and get in bed, do your routine and everything like that to make sure you're getting sleep. So I think that that's a great first step, because I think most moms probably are not getting enough sleep.
Right. Yeah. And it's generally not because they don't want to. It's just it doesn't feel like there's time for that and to get all the other stuff done.
Right.
But once you get home, it's time to spend time with kids, and then you don't have time for yourself until after they go to bed. And um,
Exactly.
I do think the kind of the reframe of recognizing just because I'm awake doesn't mean that I'm being productive or doing anything beneficial or even enjoying the time that I'm carving out.
Mhm.
So what do I have to lose by experimenting with doing it a little bit differently to see then if I'm getting more done in less time during the day, now I've found time for myself or for a workout or things like that. So, um, yeah, uh, it can be a tough shift to make, but I've never met anybody who's like, oh yeah, I regret getting my sleep in order,
And we know those with the newborn babies are probably going, I wish I could sleep, but
Right.
it's important to nap when your baby naps. I remember that. Like people told me, nap when your baby naps. And so that's my advice for them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then
You're
remember
just
that
going to
it's
be tired
temporary.
for a little bit. So this has been a wonderful conversation. So where is the best place for our listeners to connect with you?
So my website, esteravant.com, has the links to my book, my podcast, our coaching. So that would be the best place. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Awesome. And you have a free resource for our listeners, don't you?
Yeah, actually just put it together. You'll be some of the first people to get your hands on it. It's 21 time saving hacks for busy professionals. So that is us, and it's just really simple things that you can do. And we've even kind of broken it down into how much time it'll save you. If you put in an hour here, it's going to save you X number of hours down the line. We've put it in terms of how much money it can save you. There's really simple things that whether you know take one and get a couple hours back, or if you systematically implement the majority of them and find yourself with a total revamp, I guarantee you'll find something in there that you can easily implement in your life today.
Awesome. That sounds great. So I love to leave the listeners with an action step. So, what's one final piece of advice that you would give to these career moms listening right now that may be feeling stuck and in her job and her health?
I would say set one goal for yourself for today or tomorrow, depending on what time of day you're listening to this, that you can easily do, that feels too small, something that you can do in, say, under 5 minutes. So maybe that's like setting an alarm to remind yourself to go to bed. Maybe it's, jotting down a grocery list, drinking a glass of water, doing a 5 minute stretch, just something really small. Because when you're feeling stuck, the most important thing is to get some momentum going, right? An object at rest stays at rest, an object in motion stays in motion. So we got to get some motion going. And even that small thing, make it so small you can't talk yourself out of doing it, and then really celebrate accomplishing it and use that as that little kernel of momentum to then say, okay, if I did it one day, I can do it the next, or what do I want to add tomorrow? And that's where progress comes from.
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning into The Shannon Fox Show. If you found value in today's episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another career mom who's ready to thrive. Don't forget to grab your free Mastery Zone Discovery Quiz, where you'll uncover your strengths and take the first step toward aligning your career with your superpowers. You can also connect with me on Instagram at the.shannon.fox for more tips and inspiration. Until next time, remember, you're not just building a career, you're creating a life you love. Let's make this happen.